So, The Last Showgirl was a movie which I was actually decently excited for. It stars Pamela Anderson. I can't speak anymore. It's 1 o'clock. Okay. Anyways, it stars a Canadian legend, Pamela Anderson. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good. Decent cast. So, but I didn't know what to expect. Again, I like going into movies knowing absolutely nothing. Unless it's a superhero movie where I know everything that's gonna happen. But it's okay. We'll pretend that's not true. So I like going into these movies blind, right? Especially these kind of TIFF movies because you never know. Sometimes people's opinions on things get biased. Plus, if I have to do all the work of figuring out what it's about, then that's a little bit less fun. So I just look at cast lists and I'm like, cool, this looks good. Or I look at pictures, stills from movies and say, oh, this looks fun. Or I look at titles, I'm like, that's a good title. So this is a good title. And a good cast list. So I was like, why not? Anyways, so I was not sure what this was going to be. I really didn't know what to expect with this movie at all. They said, and I kept hearing, the one thing I heard about this movie, because Dave Bautista's in a role which you've never seen him in before. So I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if that's true. I don't really know if this is a role I've never seen him in before. Now, granted, I've only seen him as Drax, so potentially. But I feel like he's done these kind of roles before. So I never understood that part. Is it, I don't know, is it because he's not he's soft and weak? I don't know. But either way, he was in this movie and he had hair, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that was the reason. But anyways, Pamela Anderson being able to lead a movie at 60 years old, I don't know how old she is, I'm assuming she's around 60 at this point. It is pretty impressive, actually. I mean, the fact that they're able to tell a compelling story. I mean, I don't know if she could lead a movie based on her talent when she was younger, but still, I don't think scary movies ever cast her for her talent. But again, that being said, she did an incredible job in this movie, so I mean, I can't really complain. I think this is an interesting story about art. And I'll tell you something. What this really shows that it's very hard to be an artist, a successful one, right? Because it is, and I think this even extends to other things like athletics, right? You're telling me, look at a football player, right? What happened to I got another concussion. It shows you how these being the top of or even anywhere near the top, at a certain point in your life, it can all come crashing down at a moment like that. Right? And then you really have nothing else. You can't really go anywhere, right? You look at, again, I'm going to use athletes, but it is the same for everybody from, these dancers in this movie to really dancers in anything, right? Or even to some extent actors, right? When you're on screen and you're the face of things, that's your thing. And then once you're aged out of that and, once you stop being able to do that, sometimes you can't do anything else. I mean, you see child actors all the time. Once they get older, right, to being not children anymore, sometimes it's hard for them to find something else, and they're just kind of stuck there. And I think that, again, this is the fascinating commentary, right? Athletes, right? One injury, and then so they can't do the thing you're really good at, right? The thing you spent your whole life being good at, and getting ready for it, and being able to do, right? And then you do it for this time, and then, you're basically in your younger years, and you still can't do it. In the movie, the character is 40 years old, I think she said, or 50 years old. That's still not the end of your life. 50 years old, not the end of your life. And so it's interesting because it shows that challenge, right? And then all the things you sacrifice at the time when it comes to being able to succeed in that, and then just not being able to then you're what do I have left? You put everything into this basket and it kind of just crumbles, and then you're well, what's left? And it is a story about change and adapting and just being, figuring out who you are after the thing you're good at just kind of goes away, right? The thing which, again, you were successful at, which, not everyone was successful at. And I think it's obviously different levels, but you've seen the story being told before with athletes, I'm sure. I mean, I know there's movies, right, with that exact concept. You see the story being told all the time, but yet it feels like it was done in a different way, in a very raw way, and in a way where it's it wasn't, the fall wasn't necessarily, like, I think sometimes when the story is told, it's like, you're at the top, and then you fucked it up, and you're the reason it's down, you fell down. This story doesn't do that. This story doesn't say, well, you're the reason. In this case, actually, she was not the reason that this entire show and this entire, like, you know, long act came to a close. It's just because people lost interest and moved on to the next thing. So it's a little bit different. And I think that's what makes this unique, is that it isn't just, oh, you fucked it up. You had all the opportunities. You did this, right? Because sometimes I feel like when they show this, especially, again, I'm going to use athletes, but like when they show this about athletes or actors, it's like, well, when you're at the top, you're really at the top, right? But then you fucked it all up by being stupid, right? And losing everything, right? You did it. Instead of saying, well, what if people just lose interest, right? It is a story, but, you know, it's led by two aging actors talking about aging actors, right? Or aging artists, and how hard it can be. And there is a bias in Hollywood for so long about casting older women as leads in movies, right? Everything Everywhere All at Once broke that mold, and it cast a older woman as a lead. This movie is breaking that mold and casting an older woman as a lead, right? Like, you don't see that in as much, because there is this kind of, like, you know, unspoken / very much spoken thing of, like, you know, I guess sex appeal brings to movies, and Pamela Anderson being that person is a little bit funny too, right? Because of what, I guess, she drew people into movies, how she drew people into movies in her, like, prime. And I think, again, this is a very raw movie in a lot of ways, because obviously, like, you think about everything that she had done and everything she did leading up to that point, and just, again, I just think it worked perfectly. It was really just really well done, in the sense that it did show this decline, and it showed this falling apart, and it showed this trying to figure out and being rejected, and then, you know, going and trying to reclaim what you had, and it doesn't even give you really an answer. And I think that's what the good part is. It's like, well, you know, you just got to figure it out, right? Like, there isn't really an answer to it. Anyways, I don't know. Really well acted movie. A little bit slower than I would have liked, but still really good. Can't complain. I like movies, though. That's the problem. I wish I liked movies a little bit less. Then it would be easier to criticize them. But it was good. I mean, I think I went in with very high expectations just because the cast looked really good. And I think it was a little bit like, okay, there's points where it's very slow and a little bit murky in terms of what they're trying to say. But it's well done, and I think it was enjoyable enough, and it didn't drag forever and ever and ever. So, you know, I guess that's all you can really ask for in a movie, right? I like movies with endings. This one didn't really have one, so that also had it. Billy Lord's great, though. Shout out. Anyways, subscribe to the channel and all that other stuff. Bye.